I never get it because it's like, obviously, if you get a tribe in the Amazon rainforest, they don't even know what Islam is. So is it their fault because they
No, that's what I'm saying. Islam is such a holistic and universal religion. Islam says God does not punish any nation, any community, any tribe, unless there is a warner sent to them. It is a must. So if no warner came to them, God, because He's just, He cannot punish them, saying, "Oh, you didn't do that." But God tells us every nation had a warner. Imitate something like that, even with synonyms and so on, it becomes like a meaningless text.
Okay.
Like when I speak to you, I say I am speaking. I don't say I is speaking to you. You will say, "Oh, that's not how we speak in English. I is." You say I am.
Yeah.
So when the Quranic structure in the current form is given, if we were to imitate the same composition of it, using different verbs, different pronouns, different nouns and so on, or different synonyms of the words, it becomes like that. It becomes like a gobbledygook Arabic. It makes no sense. That's why the Arabs say, "No, I cannot make something like that," and still it will make sense and still be eloquent and so on. That is what the Creator made it like this. You know why it's come through this way, this falsification test? Because every major prophet, when they came, the Creator, God, wanted to provide evidence so that the people can recognize the evidence. The people of knowledge can recognize the evidence.
Yeah.
So at one time, for example, there are people who are very good in their magic and so on and so forth, right? God sends a prophet. He does this kind of actions. The magicians realize immediately that's not magic, because they know their limit. So this is what happened with Prophet Moses. Okay, we weren't there, but the people who were there, Pharaoh's magicians, when they threw their staff and they made an illusion, and people thought, "Oh, magicians knew their magic." But when Prophet Moses, upon him be peace, threw his wooden staff and it became a snake, the magicians themselves recognized. Can you not do that, please? Right? The magicians recognized this particular person is not a magician, because no one can do that. That's why they recognize him as an agent of God, a prophet of God, a messenger of God.
Yeah.
When it comes to Jesus, it was like medicine. People can do lots of things. But when Christ came, and He healed the blind, but just like that, those doctors at that time, they knew that's not an ordinary doctor. I can't do that. No doctor can. So this was some circumstantial way of dealing with evidence that will be acceptable to people at that time, because the knowledgeable ones, if they don't accept it, that's it.
Yeah.
When it comes to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, people were very good in their language. They would compose poetry and all the other different kind of linguistic composition. They will excel, and they will hang the best of their poems in the wall of the Kaaba in Mecca. You know the Kaaba with the pilgrimage. The best one remains there, and so on. So when God sent the Quran to a prophet who was not lettered, he is illiterate, didn't know how to read and write, and gave this Quran in a composition, those masters of literature, poetry and so on, they immediately recognize that is not a human speech, because I can't do it, neither can any of my compatriots. No one can do it. And the only way they can rationalize is saying, "Oh, you must be magician, a magic."
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say. So certain people can't do certain things that other people can. Like the world's strongest man is stronger than every other person on the planet. It doesn't mean that he was given the power by God.
Let me
get what I mean.
No, let me clarify the magnitude of this example. Do you see that building over there?
Yeah.
It's made of bricks and steel, right?
Yeah.
But what if I tell you, look, you as an architect and me as an architect, I have made the building.
Yeah.
No one can make something like mine. And you say, what do you mean? We can make any building like that.
Yeah.
I say, okay, come and have a look at my building. You come and closely have a look, and you see my building, every brick is not touching the other brick, floating in space. Every single whole structure floating with not touching each other. Can you make it?
No.
Can any architect in current world today make it?
No.
They cannot. So that's where the linguistic composition of the Quran is. He's a heckler. No, let me continue. He's a heckler. So what we think, when the Quran came with this composition, it's in Arabic language with Arabic letters, alphabet, but it's constructed in such a way that you cannot compose in the construction the Quran is composed of. So be people who are masters in Arabic language, whether you are Muslim, non-Muslim, atheist, doesn't matter, you recognize that this is not possible to imitate. That's what we're saying. It's not a challenge to the Muslims. Muslims believe in it. It's a challenge to people who do not believe it's a book from God.
Okay.
So it's a falsification test.
Question.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously that's the thing. I've asked you this before. How is it fair that you, for example, was born? I'm assuming you were born in a Muslim family and your parents are Muslim. So I was obviously born. I knew nothing about Islam. I knew nothing, and I'm expected to just believe it, but obviously it's like
not to believe it.
No, not by you. I just mean for myself. I mean, like, you know, I'm expected to have to work to find it all out and everything. But obviously, if I was born into an Muslim family, I would have become a Muslim. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's a bit like when you say, like, you know, when Jesus came and he healed people. But obviously, if I saw someone heal someone, you know what I mean? It's a bit like the test feels like it's a lot harder for people who aren't born into a Muslim family than people who aren't.
I understand your question, and it's a genuine question, an interesting one. But the answer is quite simple and provided by Islam already, and now let me explain to you why. You see, God has given us certain resources which is accessible to all. With these resources, if we utilize them, we will arrive at the truth, irrespective of which places we are born, which locality, which demographics. Okay. So you are not put in a disadvantaged position, not born in a non-Muslim family, and I am not put in an advantageous position because I was in a Muslim family. You can find even today many Muslims born in a Muslim family and they're turning atheists.
Yeah, but
I'm giving an example, becoming an atheist. Many, right? Every people have their own choice to believe in this belief. And you have other people who are not born in a Muslim family and becoming a Muslim. So it's not about where you're born. We are told by our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, every child is born in a state of fitra, which means a state of innate disposition to recognize a higher being, to recognize the truth and follow that truth. Have that inclination to know there's something out there and to be grateful to that thing. It's the society that conditions us to believe otherwise. So our parents will condition us, our environment will condition us to believe, to become a Jew or a Christian or a fire worshipper and so on and so forth. But there's another tool and a resource that God has provided. It's the intellect. It's the intellect. Those who are incapacitated, meaning those who cannot use their intellect, they are not going to be accountable for what they believe in. They're exempt. But anyone who has given the faculty of intellect, if they don't use it, there will be a question for it. You and I, doesn't matter what religion we are born into, at one point with our faculty of intellect, we would come to these existential questions. What am I doing here? Where did I come from?
Yeah.
Where am I going? These questions will come.
Yeah, everyone.
And at this point, if we don't answer and find these answers, we'll be blameworthy for it, we'll be accountable, and we will not be able to justify perhaps our neglect and negligence.
Yeah.
So just because someone's not born in a Muslim family, it doesn't put them in a disadvantage, because
I disagree though. Because you obviously believe you're supposed to read the Quran in Arabic. If I'm not born in a Muslim family, I've got to learn Arabic. Surely that's a disadvantage.
To understand, look, I am born.
Look, to understand the questions.
I am born in a nation family, right?
Yeah.
They don't speak Arabic. I learned Arabic. So can you?
Yeah, but you were a Muslim, so you was.
No, but I had to learn.
Yeah.
So learning is open to you, just like it was open to me.
No, but I mean the inclination to learn about it. It's like if you were born in a rich family and went to a good school, you're more likely to do well. The same as.
Think about.
Get what I mean?
Think about the fairness of God. God does not put a burden, according to Islam, on anyone's shoulder greater than they can bear. Right?
Okay.
And He is the just of all just.
If you're not a Muslim, do you go to hell if you're not a Muslim?
Let's understand that. Hell is not a place for those just because they don't accept Islam, not like that. Hell is reserved to people who reject the truth with stubbornness and arrogance.
So people wouldn't try to understand it.
Knowing the truth, rejecting it, being arrogant and stubborn.
Okay, that's fair, yeah.
That's the place. So, as you said, I don't have to say anything, it's fair. In terms of the opportunities that God provides. In fact, you will see many people who have reverted, they become scholars and we learn from them.
Yeah.
Happens, right? So it doesn't put us into a disadvantageous position just because we are born in a non-Muslim family. It seems like apparently, but the opportunities are open, the resources are provided. And in fact, when we use this opportunity to think and reflect, we all can excel, regardless of whether, in fact, some of the earlier generation of Muslim scholars, they were not even Arabs. The people who composed the books of hadith, the people who wrote Arabic dictionaries and so on, they were not even Arabs.
No.
Yeah. So you see, it's not about like you have to be an Arab to understand Islam and excel as a good worshipper of God. It's not limited to that time demographic and so on and so forth. So when I asked you about why aren't you Muslim, you said about you're open to the possibilities about there could be and so on. I gave you some reasonings why there has to be what we call this necessary existence, something that exists always necessarily.
Yeah.
This necessary existence has certain qualities or attributes or characteristics. I gave 4 of them, and these are what is the few qualities what we say God possesses, so that people can understand who God is.
Yeah.
And then once you accept that and you realize this self-aware, anyone who's self-aware is a being rather than a thing, communicates to us, because we see communication everywhere. And when we look at these communications and we look at the Quran, which claims to be the communication from God, and it tells you this is who God is, besides whom there is no other God. He's the most loving, the most kind, the most just. He created life and death to test us who is best in deeds, and He's given us the opportunity.
Yeah.
So when we look and study this book, the book will speak to us because it's the author who is the one who created us.
Yeah.
At that point you can ask, why do I not believe in this God, in this creator, in this book and in this prophet? You need to have now some kind of justification, some kind of explanation of not accepting it. But are there any justifiable basis of not accepting it is the question. You have to ask that yourself. You have to struggle to answer that question yourself, because otherwise it will be like a coercion, like some kind of forcing upon you.
Yeah.
You make that decision saying, I know there has to be a necessary being, and there can be only one of them. There cannot be more than one. Just imagine if there are such 2 of those things, and one of them says, now I want here daytime. A necessary being necessarily will possess power and ability without any limitation, because it didn't begin to exist.
Yeah.
It had them. So now the night should turn into a day, but the other one says, no, I want it now nighttime. There will be conflict of will. Do you understand? It's not going to happen. It's like me and you both in a car with independent steering wheel. I'm independent, you're independent. I want to take the car this way, you want to take the car that way. Where's the car going to go? Yeah. The universe demonstrates the uniformity of will. That's why it's not like the sun is not one day rising from the east, one day from the west, one day still, and so on. Everything seems to be organized with one will, demonstrating again there is a one necessary being. So this is what the Quran says. There is only one God, and this is the God that we should have relationship to. If somebody gave you life, sustenance to sustain your life, would you not be thankful and grateful?
Yeah.
Of course. That's what God has done. Our response to all of this to God should be one of gratitude. That's what the essence of worship in Islam. Islam says, be grateful to God, and if you follow the instructions provided for how to live in this life the best way, because God doesn't want us to trial and error and then get it wrong. He just spared us from this and says, okay, this is the best for you. Live this life accordingly, and if you do behave, don't cheat, don't lie, don't kill, don't murder. You will say, yeah, I agree. He says, be nice, be just, be kind, be fair, be helpful, be charitable. You'd say, I agree. These things God provides for our own benefit. So if we do this and avoid the don'ts, our Creator has promised us paradise in which never-ending joy, happiness, tranquility, contentment, felicity, bliss. But more than ever is we will see our Creator, the one that exists without any beginning. Think about it. The one that exists without a beginning. How so? Because there has to be necessarily. We will see our Creator. But people who end up in hellfire because of their arrogance and stubborn, they will never. This is one of their loss. They will be in punishment, because of their
okay,
arrogance, but they will never see God.
Yeah, but I never get it because it's like, obviously, if you get a tribe in the Amazon rainforest, they don't even know what Islam is. So is it their fault because they're
No, that's what I'm saying. Islam is such a holistic and universal religion. Islam says God does not punish any nation, any community, any tribe, unless there is a warner sent to them. It is a must. So if no warner came to them, God, because He's just, He cannot punish them, saying, "Oh, you didn't do that." But God tells us every nation had a warner. That is why even if you go to a Brazilian jungle or an Amazonian jungle or somewhere, you will see they still have some kind of belief system, remnant of it.
Most likely,
Remnant. Some people what to do, messenger comes with the same message and they try to corrupt it and the corruption continues, but God sends another messenger to revive that same message and so on. Islam has always been like this, but the difference between Islam of Prophet Muhammad through him is that God has completed, finalized, perfected the religion for all times now. You don't need another prophet, another messenger to come, because mankind has come to a stage now. Look at the closeness now. I mean, the world is in our fingertips. We can have the same universal message applicable at all times and all places. That is what we need to do to recognize the Prophet Muhammad through evidence and proofs, and accept him to live our life through those instructions, and we have the guarantee. We will have the guarantee of this eternal joy and contentment in the hereafter. That's what the message of Islam is. If it's appealing to you, think about accepting it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's hard for me to, there's a lot to think about.
What are the objections or obstacles still you think remaining? If we can clarify those objections and there's nothing there to stop you from becoming a Muslim,
well,
then
there's just certain things that I don't see them possible, like obviously with what we just asked at the start with the Homo sapiens, because we just went to the museum and we've seen skulls that they found 300,000 years ago, and you can see them progressively changing. So the only excuse would be that they're lies, but
no. What we say, look, there can be so many different species, right? The problem of the scientific dogmatism is they try to interpret it in their way. For example, fossils.
Yeah.
If you go to a mountain cliff and you can see like a side of the city, you can see the fossil strata, right? So you can see a fossil here and there and there and there. These are over millions of years.
Yeah.
The problem of this dogmatic science is they make this link. This one came from the other one, developed. When there is no evidence to say this came from that. It's an assertion. It could well be God created species of that level like this, another level like this, another level like this. It's not that one came, one emerged, or developed from the other. That is something that is a belief, dogmatic belief of this. Because if you want to provide evidence for it, where is the connection? You're just making a leap of faith.
Genetics. Because genetics they do change very slightly over time. We have evidence of it because tribes that people I forgot where it is, but they dive in the water a lot and they've already started to adapt and gain bigger lungs.
We have a lot of our genes very much similar to potatoes and cows.
No, that's what makes genes, yeah.
No, our
genes.
genes.
Yeah, they're exactly the same.
No, we're talking about our genes. A lot of similarities to even potatoes, cabbages, and cows. Does that mean like? So
yeah, but it's because all those made with the same building
blocks. So what they're saying, this universal ancestry is just an artificial construct.
Yeah.
What we say is God is the creator for all creation. He created all his different creation to show the diversity and his majesty and power that he can create all of these things. He created human beings from no father and no mother, from a man alone or from a woman alone, and from both man and woman. All four ways.
Yeah, but look, for example, with humans have I think it's 99.6% DNA with a bonobo. You can't tell me that a bonobo doesn't look more like a human than a dolphin. It does look similar.
They can look similar, but it doesn't mean one.
No, I agree with you. It doesn't necessarily prove it.
Exactly.
But it's a compelling argument.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, argument for what? What I'm saying is God creates different species, and there can be the similarities between one species to the other. There can be resemblance, right? Because whenever you have difference and diversity, for example, you and I have some kind of similarities, and there's some kind of differences. Now, the differences and similarities doesn't have to be accidental. It could be all intentional. So God could design creation with kind of diversities, similarities, and differences.
Oh, I agree with that, because that's what I was saying at the start when I said to you, God could be real, and he could have designed evolution as it sense, but that is the part, because obviously that's what I'm trying to say, is that, like you said, Adam had no ancestors and was put down here, but that's the part that just doesn't make sense to me.
No, what we say is, this is the point where science doesn't overstep its paradigm, because science doesn't believe in what we call miracle. But we believe God is the one who creates a set of laws, but there's some other laws which we call miracles, which God can operate. For example, the property of fire is to burn, right?
Sorry?
The property of fire is to burn.
Yeah.
But God can switch on a property and stop the fire from burning. And we will consider that to be a miracle. He can do that. He is in control of natural laws.
I can never see him do that.
People witness this during certain times in early history.
Yeah, but then that's trusting their judgment. You get what I mean?
So when that happened, it was something that they acknowledged to be
A miracle.
a miracle.
Yeah.
You and I can't.
I get what a miracle is.
So when we look at the Quran, today we can look at it and we can see it cannot be imitated. So we can witness the living miracle today. That's where we're saying Quran is that living miracle that we can witness so that we can accept that it's from God. If it was something that
I think Islam and science go hand in hand as well.
In fact, scientific methodology comes from the Islamic civilization.
Science is surely good, because you said like Islam wants you to discover and use your intellect and try to find things out. It's not that I agree with you. Like, if I was a scientist, I wouldn't just say there's no God, because we've got no evidence. We can't prove if there is. You can't prove or disprove a God.
Yeah.
However, I've never really understood.
But we've established a necessary thing, necessary being. That necessary being necessarily has to possess those qualities.
It doesn't have to be in the same way that you see God. That's what I'm trying to say.
This necessary being.
Because your argument for your God being true is basically just that the Quran can't be
It's
imitated.
not my God or this God.
No, I'm sorry, the God.
There can only be one God.
Well, yeah.
Once you accept that, once you accept there's only one God, okay, the next thing is, what are the characteristics of this one God? I gave you a few, and more you can see by looking at the evidence.
The universe has the same characteristics as the God.
The universe, do you believe the universe?
And recreate new planets.
Do you believe the universe is conscious?
No.
There you go.
Well, actually, I don't know. It could be. I don't know.
So that
No one
means,
does.
so what you're doing then is simply substituting the universe into God. So why then a substitution is necessary?
Yeah.
You're actually calling the universe is God. And the reason why some people, not yourself, what's your name by the way? What's your name?
Brandon.
Brandon. Some people would love the idea saying the universe may be that is because the universe doesn't tell them, be good, be just, be kind, and don't do this. It's appealing to them because it goes in line with their desires and dictates. But when it comes to religion, people realize there's a boundary of live your life by. You can't just go and do everything that you wish. There is do's and don'ts. So what we're saying is, you from an intellectual standpoint, you already know there's a creator, and that creator is one, and that creator has to be unlike the creation. Otherwise it will be limited by all the deficiencies that we have, the creation have. So the creator will be totally perfect, self-sufficient. If you now consider other religious belief and concept about God, you will see they fall short in this concept about God, that God is self-sufficient. If you think about Hinduism and other things, there are multiple gods, and we talked about how there's going to be conflict of will. If you think about Christianity, that people try to come and heckle, you ask them, they will say, oh, God is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And if you examine that, you will say, oh, the Son is begotten of the Father.
I will say to you, out of the sort of Abrahamic faiths, I do think Islam is the one that makes the most sense, because I always ask questions about it, and because I like to test it really to try and find out, and it's the hardest one to argue with, I will say.
So the one of
personally,
the
from personal experience.
Fine. So the Islam makes sense when it comes to God and so on. When it comes to also other evidence or falsification tests, Quran provides. It says, look, if this book was not from God, you will find within it many discrepancies, many contradictions, many errors, many mistakes. I like that one. Why? Because we know a book which is not from God is bound to have this kind of problems. A book that talks about a lot of things, science, anthropology, history, biology, astrophysics, you would know it will be bound by the knowledge of that time, and you will make mistakes. Because people knew science then, and we now know a lot of things, they got it wrong. So the Quran, which is 1400 years ago, 1444 years ago, or 40 years ago at that time, because it talks about all these things, we expect the Quran to have these mistakes within it if it wasn't from God. So this is one thing that we encourage people to go and do research, assess this book, scrutinize it, and if you cannot find errors, discrepancies, mistakes, ask yourself, how so? A book which is meant to have these kind of mistakes, whether it's in embryology, whether it's in astrophysics, whether it's in biology, geography, why is it somehow eliminating all the mistakes? To give you an example, the Bible talks about historical figures of pharaohs and so on and so forth, and it puts one of the pharaohs at the time of Joseph as a pharaoh. The Quran says no, he's a king. Now we realize, looking at the time frame, there was no pharaohs at that time, they were called kings. How did the Quran somehow make sure it eliminates the errors and only gives you the truth? It keeps you doing it. How did people at that time believe everything is created in such and such a way, and the Quran says no, in succession, one after the other, in this way? It removes the errors and gives you the filtered truth. How is that possible? That is why when you confront yourself with questions like this, the truth hits you saying, it has to be from God, because this is what the book says and claims it to be. If it wasn't from God, you would have expected these kind of things.
But having a black and white like proof that God is there, you can't see it personally.
You don't need to see to believe in God. I haven't. No, he's quite now there, my brother. The necessary being is something that he accepts now. There has to be. You haven't seen your brain or your one of these organs in your body, like say the pancreas. You haven't seen it yourself, but you know it exists.
Well, I've seen other people's.
Yeah, but you haven't seen yours, but you know it exists. So we don't need to see God.
But I've never.
To believe in it.
But I've seen a liver. I've never seen another God. So there's no.
There's
nothing.
But in instances of God question, you can definitely come to the conclusion that there is a God by the necessary existence.
There has to be something.
And that's something I'm saying.
I'm just saying
I
don't know if it has to be God.
I'm saying if it wasn't God, then how do you explain this is a conscious thing with will and ability and knowledge and power?
But I don't think it has to have will.
If it didn't will, can anything happen from it?
Yeah, things can happen without will.
No.
So, but do you think
if I don't will to do anything, nothing will happen from me?
I get what you're
so
saying in a sense.
If the Creator did not will,
you're seeing it as something that thinks. Like a sun doesn't will to explode; it just does it.
The sun is programmed to do what it's doing.
Yeah, but that's what you think.
No. If the sun can do whatever he wants to do, why did it then make?
No, because the sun's not alive. But it can still.
Why can the sun? Why can the sun do whatever he wants to do? Because it doesn't have a will.
Yeah.
It only does things which is programmed to do. Yeah? It's already been programmed. It cannot do otherwise.
I'll say something as well. There's order in the universe. That's how you know that it's not just randomized. If something has a will.
Regarding the
chance. In the universe, and you know
regarding the chance, brother. So one thing I sorry, brother.
Just to explain about the chance issue.
So brother, you might just turn into a bird.
Brother, regarding the chance, if chance allows everything to happen or everything to exist, then if chance allows God to be there, then by definition of God, there is nothing that can remove that chance.
Can you get a copy
God
of the Quran?
will necessarily exist. If existence of God is possible by chance,
Okay.
If there is nothing that can remove that chance of existence of God, then God will necessarily exist, because there is nothing to stop that chance of God being existing. So by definition, when you accept that by chance everything is possible, including existence of God, then by definition of God, He is eternal, He is self-sustaining, He is independent. By definition, will be nothing that can prevent from God being into existence. That chance will not be removed by anything.
I want to show an experiment, right? This is English translation of the Quran. Can you hold on this? Open up anywhere. You'll find something about God and instructions. Anywhere. Do it 3 times.
What? Why?
No. This book is a book of guidance, right? You opened up here. Can I have some light? I want to show you. I'll give you three times. I want some magnification. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine up here. And mentioned when we designated for Abraham the site of the house, do not associate anything with me, and purify my house for those who purified, and those who stand in prayer, and those who bow and prostrate, and proclaim in the people to the people the Hajj, the pilgrimage, right? They will come to you on the foot, on every lean camel. They will come from every distant pass. People today, do you know how they go to Hajj? In every possible ways. Ships, walking, aeroplanes, and so on.
Okay.
This is what God promised to Abraham. This is what will happen. And this is what happens today. And it will happen tomorrow, God willing. And it continues to happen. If you were to carry on here, you will find instructions, concept of God throughout. There's always a guidance, always evidence that pops out in the Quran. Just do another twice, just to demonstrate to you why this book is not like any other book.
Okay.
Anywhere, from anywhere.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got to go after this.
Yeah, sure. Alif Lam Mim, this is a book. Verses of a wise book as guidance and mercy for those who doers of good. So we're telling you, this is a book of guidance, as I was telling you about. Who establish their prayer and their charity and of the hereafter they're certain. They're on the guidance from their Lord, and it is those who are the successful. And those and of the people is who buys the amusement of speech, to mislead others from the way of Allah without knowledge, and who takes it in ridicule. Those will have a humiliating punishment. And when our verses are recited to them, they turn away arrogantly, as if he had not heard them, as if there was in their ears deafness. So give them tidings of painful punishment. Indeed, those who believe and do righteous deeds, for them are the gardens of pleasure, wherein they abide eternally. It is the promise of Allah in truth. Yeah? And He is the exalted, the might, and the wise. I can continue. In there you will realize God guides those who's willing to be guided. Those people who don't want to believe in God, they try to make all these excuses, try to prevent others from doing and so on and so on. They will have their recompense. But those who believe in God and do God's will, they have eternal abode in paradise. So throughout, if you read this Quran, it will resonate with you that this book is indeed from God, giving me these instructions, giving me the affirmations, giving me the warning, giving me how to live my life, how to conduct my life, how to know that this is from God. It tells you this is a book from God. Alif Lam Mim, a book full of wisdom. So this was you can carry on doing that every single page you want. This totally differentiates from any other book from this Quran. A hallmark that this is a book of guidance. Why I say that? Because in the very beginning, after the opening chapter, God says so. This is a book. Lights again, please. Anyone?
Sorry. Lights.
One more time. Final time.
One more time.
This is the book about which there is no doubt a guidance for those who are conscious of God, Allah. A guidance. This is what you're seeking. You're seeking to know, how can I be sure? How can I be sure of God? God says in the Quran, أَفِي اللَّهِ شَكْ فَاطِرُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. How can you have doubt in Allah, in God, when He cleaved the heaven and the earth? God says in the Quran, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Do not the unbelievers, those who don't believe, see that the heavens and the earth and everything aside, right, was joined together as one piece, and God parted it asunder, and He brought every living thing from water, would they then not believe? This is how the Quran engages people who don't believe.
Okay.
Giving you in one breath two evidence, one from astrophysics, one from biology. The common origin of the universe and common origin of life. And how does it end? How does it start? It says, have you not seen? Have you not known? And how does it end? Would you still not believe? Meaning in between, here is the evidence. Here is the thing for your reflection and contemplation. This is a copy for you, our gift from you. My friend Brandon, ask yourself, if you feel Islam is truth, accept it before it's late, because we don't know when we're going to die. We want to die as Muslims in our faith in Islam. If you're ready, we can help you to make that proclamation.
Thank you for your talk.
If you are not ready, don't delay your research and your searching and your acceptance of it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All the best. Take care.
Good talk. Thank you.
Thank you. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.